Hello there again, YouTube. It's once again I, your gothic host with the most, Knox Burzum, back to bring you more blasphemous banter. I know I've been gone for a little while, sorry about that. Had a lot of things happen in life, but you know what? I am back in black, baby. So, I brought you a new segment today, Knox Talks Cryptids. It's like TED Talks, with, 1/10 the education level. We'll be talking about things like Chupacabra, Yeti, Sasquatch, Mothman, your mom. It's gonna be a real fun ride, folks. I hope you enjoy the show. Let's get ready to suspend a little bit of disbelief and have some fun talking some shit. Welcome to Enter the Void.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
I feel so good, I feel so good.
Our first subject upon which to pontificate is none other than that wild man of the woods, that skunk ape, the wood ape, the original furry, and cousin its less sexy concept design. We're talking motherfucking Bigfoot! Ba, ba, ba. Sasquatch, otherwise known as Bigfoot, is a North American cryptid primarily, who's about 7.5 to 10 feet tall, somewhere in there. But the interesting part is that it's kind of found everywhere around the globe. You have things like Sasquatch / Bigfoot, as is known in the US. You have the skunk ape, which is almost another offshoot of them that seems to really only be found in like the southern tips of the US. You have things like the yowie, which is found in Australia. You have the yeti, which is found in the Himalayas and anywhere else that's cold on that side of the planet, which leads us to believe that it would be something akin to like how there's different kinds of deer, or how there's different kinds of mice, or things like that. And then there's these really big burly bastards who have been sighted all over the place up in Canada, especially in the Yukon territory, which again makes sense because it's remote and there's lots of food there, and something big and hairy could live there easily and you'd never fucking see it. Now, while mainstream scientists, of course, denounce its existence straight up because there's no technically physical evidence, I guess you could say, to prove its existence, cryptozoologists, who are oftentimes still involved in the professional fields of biology and zoology, tend to believe that there is enough circumstantial evidence to at least theorize on its existence. Things like plaster casts of footprints, things like small amounts of hair that have been found, tens of thousands of first-hand anecdotal accounts and sites of the creature. Sometimes a picture here or there, and a lot of these things coming from people who are former military. So we'll talk about all that in the coming parts of the video. Some of the sources today that we'll be discussing have been called outright hoaxes and found to be complete frauds. There is even one case of a guy making an entire latex body mold. We'll get to that later, unfortunately. However, there are other sources like the Sierra Sounds, which are widely considered to be real by cryptolinguists, especially a few who have retired from the US Navy. I think that adds a little bit of credence to the subject.
Range for night, There's two of them across the creek at the big rocks. It's a hard act to follow.
Is there everybody talks to us and they talk to each other?
Yeah.
So, just in case you've been living under a rock since about 1960 and have no idea what the hell these things are supposed to look like, let me give you an idea. They're supposed to be large, bulky, muscular bipedal hominids, probably a relic species from tens of thousands of years ago. Their coloration is described as being dark black, brunette, reddish, sometimes gold, or mottled. So sort of like a bear's coat. Think of it that way. They're described as having a very human-like face. In fact, you might say more human than human. Wink, wink. In fact, in 1971, multiple people in Dallas, Oregon filed a report describing an overgrown ape. One of the men claimed to have seen the creature in his sights, but was unable to shoot because he said when he looked at the creature's face, it had the face of man. So, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the subject at hand. Bigfoot first really came into American pop culture consciousness in roughly 1958, when Jerry Crew, a bulldozer operator from a logging company outside of Humboldt County, California, stumbled upon a bunch of really big, wide, long tracks sunk deep into the mud of the Six Rivers National Forest. And when I say big, these things were fucking huge, 16 goddamn inches long. Makes Ron Jeremy look small. Upon informing his coworkers of their existence, instead of making fun of him like he would have expected, the co-workers actually explained that they had found similar footprints around the recent job sites and that they had had strange occurrences happen overnight, such as a 450-pound oil barrel being moved from one end of a job site to another without any explanation in the morning. The men started using the moniker of Bigfoot to describe the mysterious culprit soon thereafter. Jerry Crew, who initially believed someone was playing a prank on him, once again found massive footprints and contacted reporter Andrew Genzoli of the Humboldt Times newspaper, who interviewed the lumber workers and wrote articles on the mysterious footprints, introducing the name Bigfoot in relation to the tracks and local tales of large, hairy, wild men. A plaster cast was made of the footprints, and Crew appeared on the front page of the newspaper in October of 1958, holding one of them. The story rapidly spread as Genzoli began to receive correspondence from major media outlets, including the New York Times and the LA Times. and thusly, Bigfoot became a widespread moniker in reference to an apparently large, unknown creature leaving massive footprints in Northern California. Interestingly, the legend doesn't start there though. These smelly bastards have been around as long as many of the North American Native American tribes have existed, if some petroglyphs and legends are to be believed. On the Tule River Indian Reservation in Central California, for example, petroglyphs created by a tribe of Yokuts at a site called Painted Rock are alleged by some to depict a group of Bigfoot called the Family. Amazingly, not Italian. The local tribesmen call the biggest of the glyphs Hairy Man, and are estimated to be between 500 and 1,000 years old. 16th century Spanish explorers and Mexican settlers in California told tales of the Los Vigilantes Oscuros, or Dark Watchers, large creatures alleged to stalk their camps at night. In the region that is now Mississippi, for instance, a French Jesuit priest was living with the Natchez in 1721 and reported stories of hairy creatures in the forest known to scream loudly and steal livestock. See, it's not just drunken frat boys doing it anymore. Ecologist Robert Pyle argues that most cultures have accounts of human-like giants in their folk history, expressing a need for some larger-than-life creature, so to speak. Each culture seems to have a name for the creature based upon the local version of their legend. Many names mean something along the lines of wild man, hairy man, or your mom, although other names describe the common actions that were said to perform, such as shaking trees or eating clams. Eating your clam. Chief Michelle of the tribe at Lytton, British Columbia, told such a story to Charles Hill Tout in 1898. The Steins people tell stories of the Saskets, a shape-shifting creature that protects the forests, kind of like a forest spirit in Japanese lore. The name Sasquatch is actually the anglicized version of Saskets, roughly translating to hairy man in the this language. Members of the Lumi tell tales of creatures known as the this word. The stories are similar to each other in the general descriptions of said beasties, but details differ among various family accounts concerning the creature's diet and activities. Some regional versions tell of more threatening creatures like the Stiyaha or the Kui-Kui-Yai, I think that's how you pronounce it, who were a nocturnal race which children were warned against saying the names of so that the monsters would not come and carry them off to be killed and or eaten. The Iroquois tell of an aggressive hair-covered giant with rock-hard skin, known as the Ot-Ne-Yahe, or stone giant, more commonly referred to as the Genosqua. In 1847, Paul Kane reported stories by the natives about Skookums, a race of cannibalistic wild men living at the peak of Mount St. Helens in southern Washington state. These allegations were reported in the July 16, 1924 issue of The Oregonian, and have become a popular piece of Bigfoot lore, with the area now being referred to as Ape Canyon, which some of you may have heard of. U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt, in his 1893 book, The Wilderness Hunter, writes of a story he was told by an elderly mountain man named Bauman, in which a foul-smelling, bipedal creature ransacked his beaver trapping camp, beaver trapping, when it stalked him and later became hostile and fatally broke his companion's neck in the wilderness near the Idaho-Montana border. Roosevelt notes that Bauman appeared fearful while telling the story, but attributed the trapper's folkloric German ancestry to have potentially influenced him. I don't really know what the hell being German has to do with it, but go off. Less menacing versions have been recorded though, such as one by Reverend Elkanah Walker in 1840. Walker was a Protestant missionary who recorded stories of giants living among the natives near Spokane, Washington, and they were said to be located at the top of nearby mountain peaks, stealing salmon from the fishermen's nets. I know it's an awful lot of information, but damn it, I'm trying to be thorough. And, believe it or not, of all the cryptids out there, this one seems to be the most likely to exist. While it admittedly doesn't take any sort of real intelligence or backing to make a podcast, there are a number of podcasts which focus exclusively on this elusive being, which include Sasquatch Chronicles, Untold Radio, From the Shadows, and much of David Paulides' Missing 411. Admittedly, there is little weight behind your average podcast. and it does not take a degree or anything to get yourself recorded and published on the internet. Hell, I'm doing that myself. But either way, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of first-hand anecdotes via these podcasts about the exact thing we're discussing now. Hundreds of people telling relatively similar stories about what seems to be the same damn thing time after time. Hell of a coincidence, isn't it? So, just what the fuck is it? One always circles back around to this question with any cryptozoological character. If it actually exists, what really is it? Because any living being like this isn't just some one-off freak of nature or some beast which escaped from a rich person's genetic lab. I'm looking at you, Bill Gates. No, if this critter exists, I personally believe it is essentially a living fossil, much like the coelacanth, a fish found primarily off the southern coast of Africa. I think that it's an offshoot from the early days of the Homo family. I said homo. I think it took after other large fauna of the age, more so than our branch species did, and so developed separately but not totally apart from us. And then there are those assholes who have to ruin things for everyone, make up lies, and in some cases stoop to taking people's hard-earned money and running with it. In light of those fuckos, I present you with the most dubious part of our segment, hoaxes that hurt. In 1968, the frozen corpse of a supposed hair-covered hominid, measuring 5'11", was paraded around the United States as part of a traveling exhibition. Many stories surfaced as to its origin, such as it having been killed by hunters in Minnesota or killed by American soldiers in the Da Nang province during the Vietnam War. None of this was, of course, true. It was attributed by some to be proof of Bigfoot-like creatures, though. Primatologist John R. Napier studied the subject and concluded it was a hoax, made of latex foam, rubber, and some, wiring to keep the thing together. Others, of course, being the asshole who brought it to the world. As of 2013, the subject, dubbed the Minnesota Iceman, was on display at the Museum of Weird in Austin, Texas. Tom Biscardi, longtime Bigfoot enthusiast and CEO of Searching for Bigfoot Incorporated, also notable cunt, appeared on the Coast to Coast AM Paranormal radio show on July 14th of 2005 and said he was 98% sure that his group will be able to capture a Bigfoot, which they have been tracking in the Happy Camp, California area. A month later, he announced on the same radio show that he had access to a captured Bigfoot, and was arranging a pay-per-view event for people to see it. He appeared on Coast to Coast AM again a few days later to announce that there was no captive Bigfoot. He blamed an unnamed woman for misleading him and said that the show's audience were a bunch of, quote, gullible idiots who would believe anything I put out. You rich fucker. On July 9th, 2008, Rick Dyer and Matthew Whitten posted to the YouTubes claiming that they had discovered the body of a dead Bigfoot in a forest in northern Georgia. They named this body Rick Matt. The fuck kind of name is Rick Matt? Tom Biscardi was contacted to investigate. Dyer and Whitten received $50,000 from Searching for Bigfoot Incorporated. The story was covered by many of the alphabet networks, including BBC, CNN, ABC, and Faux News, home of the orange asshole himself. Soon after a press conference, the alleged Bigfoot body was delivered in a block of ice inside of a freezer with the Searching for Bigfoot team. When the contents were thawed, observers found that the hair was not real, the head was hollow, and the feet were rubber, basically made out of fucking flippers. Dyer and Whitten admitted that it was a hoax after being confronted by Steve Coles, executive director of SquatchDetective.com. Unfortunately, Jack Links could not be reached for further details. In January 2014, Rick Dyer, who you might remember from our last encounter, said that he had killed a Bigfoot in September 2012 outside San Antonio. He claimed to have had scientific tests conducted on the body of all manner, from DNA scans to 3D optical scans to body scans to colonoscopies, the whole works. The real deal is Bigfoot. Bigfoot's here, I shot the fucker, and now I'm proving it to the world with the old razzle-dazzle. He said that he had kept the body in a hidden location and he intended to take it on tour across North America in 2014. He released photos of the body and a video showing a few individuals with their reactions to seeing it, but never released any of the tests or scans. He refused to disclose any of the test results or provide biological samples. He said that the DNA results were done by an undisclosed lab, yeah, sounds real great, and could not be matched to identify any known animal. Totally believe ya. Dyer said that he would reveal the body and tests on February 9th of 2014 at a news conference at Washington University, but he never made the tests available. Huh, this is my shocked face. After the Phoenix tour, the Bigfoot body was taken to Houston. On March 28th of 2014, Dyer admitted on his Facebook page that his Bigfoot corpse was another hoax. What a surprise! He had paid Chris Russell of Twisted Toy Box to manufacture the prop, which he nicknamed Hank, sort of like how the shark in Jaws was nicknamed Bruce. Dyer earned approximately $60,000 from the tour of this second fake Bigfoot corpse, which was of course all ill-gotten. He stated that he did really kill a Bigfoot, but, quote, did not take the real body on tour for fear it would be stolen. Who the fuck is following you, frat boys? So, at the end of the day, is it real? Is it fake? Is it someone's imaginary best friend? Who the hell knows? Maybe the truth lies somewhere in the gray, somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the in-between. And maybe that's the fun part, right? To have it be unknowable, to have it be a mystery. Maybe it is real. Maybe the Native Americans came up with the idea thousands of years ago. Maybe some white asshole came up with it in Georgia. We'll probably never know. But that's not really what's important. What's important is that it's something fun, something that keeps us entertained. A reason for some people to get up in the morning. And at the end of the day, isn't that what life's about, is having something that you can enjoy? I think it is. So I leave it with you. You can decide if it's real or not for yourself. This has been Enter the Void. I've been Knox Burzum. Remember, peace, love, and heavy fucking metal, folks. It's all you need. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, bye!